everyone, it's Olivia again. Welcome back to my channel and thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to be talking about my experience in Spain on the Camino de Santiago. So if you don't know what the Camino de Santiago is, it's different routes throughout Spain and its surrounding countries where pilgrims would hike to the cathedral in Santiago de Compostela. The longest one and the most famous one is the Camino Francés, which is the French route, and that one takes about 3 months. That's like the Appalachian Trail of the Camino de Santiago. I did the Camino Inglés, so this is what the Irish and the Englishmen took, and it goes through Galicia, Spain, and it takes about 5 days. So I'm going to tell you guys about gear, what my travel looked like, what day-to-days looked like. I'll break it up each day and talk about hostels, talk about costs, talk about food, things I wish I would have known beforehand, which days were the hardest, how I dealt with different weather conditions, how I made friends, the whole shebang. So I'm going to start off with gear and let's get into it. Okay, so first off is gear. So I rented the majority of my equipment from Bua, which if you watched my last YouTube video, you know that that is the free resource in Norway for outdoor rentals. So I rented a backpacking backpack, hiking poles, and a tent for free. Now, I wish I would not have brought the tent because I ended up staying in hostels the whole way. It was nice knowing I had the security of I have a place to sleep no matter what, but it was so much extra weight and my knees were dying by the end of the trail that I wish I just would have ditched the tent at home or just not have gotten it to begin with. But again, I was going by myself, so I did want to be prepared in case for whatever reason I didn't make it to a hostel, that I would have a place to sleep. So was nice for the brain, not good for the knees. I also took with me my camping blanket and my sleeping pad, which I had from home. Again, sleeping pad didn't use, but camping blanket I did. A lot of the hostels you will stay in will not provide blankets. They'll provide like disposable sheets, but they won't provide blankets. So you definitely need a blanket or a sleeping bag going into this. I also brought probably about 2 or 3 pairs of clothes. I brought like a pants and a long sleeve outfit, and then I brought like shorts and a tank top for hotter days. And then I also brought a cute outfit, and this was something I learned from reading Camino blogs by women, and they said that they wish they'd brought a cute outfit, and I'm so glad I did because I got cute pictures outside of the cathedral at the end. So definitely bring a nice outfit that you will not hike in and that you will not sleep in. I also did bring pajamas as well. I brought a towel and then of course all my toiletries. And I did bring an extra pair of shoes again because I wanted to have something to change out of when I was not hiking, because it's just, you just feel really gross, and I just wanted to have something that was separated from feeling very gross, if that makes sense. As far as at the hostels, they typically have washing machines. If they don't, you can hand wash your clothes in the sink and then hang dry them. So I probably did laundry 2, maybe 3 times throughout the week just because I had so little items, but I don't really mind being dirty while I'm walking because you're just gonna get dirty again, and it was raining for the majority of the time we were there, so I didn't really feel too like hot or sweaty throughout the trip. As far as rain, it did rain for a good bit of the trip, which I like to embrace. I thought it was a little fun. It did get annoying sometimes, but I did think it was fun. And as an outdoorsy gal, I feel like it was a rite of passage to have a rainy hike. So my solution to this, because I didn't have a rain cover for my backpack, was I bought 2 ponchos at one of the outdoor stores here in Norway. And I got them like oversized so that way they would go over myself and go over my backpack, and it ended up working really well. I did have to kind of like be funky with it and like kind of like tie it sometimes, or like get someone to help me put it over my backpack, but overall worked really well. Definitely recommend a poncho. As far as hiking poles, I looked on so many different websites for so long about, do you recommend hiking poles? Are they worth it? Are they worth the weight in your backpack for when you do need them? And I got such conflicting answers, so I just decided to bring them because I have really bad knee problems. And the first 4 days, I was like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have brought these, just extra weight in my pack. But day 5, my knees were literally about to explode. I thought I was gonna die. And so having hiking poles drastically alleviated weight for me and like saved my life on the last day. So if you're someone like me where you're prone to knee issues or you have pre-existing conditions or injuries, I would recommend the poles. Even if they seem useless the first few days, you might get to a point throughout your trip where it's literally you're holding on to them for your life. The last thing we'll talk about is shoes. There's a lot of debate on shoes, hiking boots, not hiking boots, sneakers. For me, I wore my hiking boots and they have some waterproof capacity, and I think that was perfect, again, because it was raining. So I got to have the stability and the flexibility of like a sneaker, but got to not deal with like wet socks, if that makes sense. There were some times where it would get a little wet if it were pouring pretty hard, but nothing crazy. And I think hiking boots were definitely the move. There's also definitely going to be times where you're walking through like muddier places or you're not on like a paved trail. And so for that, I would recommend hiking boots. Okay, the next thing I'm going to talk about is the app that I used. The app that I used was amazing. It's called the Camino Ninja. And so it has GPS capabilities, so I was able to see where I was on the trail throughout my time hiking. And it also showed you what the distance was to your next location, as well as what hostels and cafes were along your route, or there were along your route. So I would put in, for example, day 1, Ferro to Ponte de Ume, and it would show me what hostels were in Ponte de Ume, as well as what cafes, restaurants, shops, grocery stores, etc. were in each city. So that was really nice for planning. And it also had an elevation map that I found on like day 2 or day 3. It took me a while to find that, but I was able to see like kind of when we would get to the hardest parts of the day, which was really nice. It really helped my motivation to know that like, okay, we've reached the peak of the day. Now everything's pretty much downhill, or we won't have a climb like that again. And it worked throughout the whole trail, whether I had Wi-Fi or not. Okay, next I wanted to get into what my traveling looked like. So I am studying abroad in Norway, so I made my way from Kristiansand in the lower southern coast of Norway to Spain. So what I did is I bused from Kristiansand to Oslo, and then I flew from Oslo to Brussels to Madrid. That was actually, it was originally supposed to be a Oslo to Zurich to Madrid, but my first flight got canceled, and I'll have a separate video about travel resilience where I talk about how I deal with things like that. But then once I made it into Madrid, I took a night bus to Ferrol. Now, this is where it kind of got a little crazy. So I was at the bus station right outside the airport, ready to leave. The bus leaves from Terminal 4. So if you come into Terminal 2 as an international traveler, which you likely will, you'll have to take the bus. It is free within the airport to get to Terminal 4. That's something that's important to know. Another thing is that they had us change buses, and I don't know if this is a one-time thing, I don't know if this is normal, but it was not reflected on our ticket. So this guy is speaking Spanish, and I hear like cambiar del autobús, and I'm like, change the bus, what is happening? But I happened to hear like people speaking in English, like, wait, do you know what he said? And I booked my way over there, and I was able to make friends with some English teachers who are from Texas, and they were teaching in Madrid, and they were going to backpack the Camino Inglés at the same timeline I was. So we made friends pretty much off the bat and pretty much hiked almost the whole way together. So that was really awesome. It was really nice to meet new people, to have new connections, and also just to have some nice buddies to hike along the way with. They were literally incredible. So shout out Natalie and Otto and Lucas. You guys are amazing. And then that bus that we took was a night bus, so we left around midnight and we got in at 8 a.m. I am the biggest fan in the world of night transportation. Like, does it suck to sleep on? Yes. Does it suck just in general while you're on it? Sure. But you save money by not having to book accommodation for that night, because you're gonna have to take that train or that bus anyways, so you might as well just sleep on it and then not have to pay to sleep in a bed. I'm also 20, very young. I'm in my peak, so there's also that. But I am a big fan of saying fuck it to accommodation and taking a night form of transportation. So that's kind of how my travel looked getting from Norway to Fiddle, which is where the hike began. Okay, so getting into day one. So day one was hiking from Fiddle to Ponte de Ume. So that was about 18 kilometers. And the first thing we did was go to a cafe and get tortilla, which is like my new favorite thing ever. It's like potatoes and egg and cheese, and it's so yummy. And it's literally like €2. All the coffees were like 3, 2, 1 euros throughout the way. It's so cheap. It was amazing. And so we stopped at a cafe first, and then we went to go get our credentials or credencials, credenciales. I think that would be more accurate. But we went to the Camino visitors / travelers center and got our credentials. So you get this little like passport looking book, and you carry it with you throughout your hike, and you get 2 stamps a day. You have to get 2 stamps. You can get these in hostels, you can get these in cafes, you can get these in restaurants, doesn't really matter. But you have to get stamps to prove that you hiked the full length of your trail. So you have to hike over 100 kilometers in order to get your certificate at the end. So in my case with the Camino Inglés, we backpacked 116 kilometers. So once we picked up those, it was about 1 or 2 euros, if I remember correctly, to purchase that. And then we got started on the 18-kilometer journey that day. It was a very easy, flat hike. For day one, it was very beautiful, went through the city and was along the coast for the majority of it. And then we ended up staying at a hostel, which I can't remember the name of it right now. It's in my notebook, which my phone is sitting on right now, but I'll have the name and pictures of that hostel right here. I remember it being nice. I booked it day of. Most of the hostels I booked the morning of or the day of, so you don't have to be too worried about it. There was one exception to that on day 3, which I'll get to when we get there. But overall, day 1, I should have a lot of pictures going on at this point of the trail. It was amazing. Definitely a great start to the hike, and so glad I met friends as well. So that was awesome. Okay, day 2 was Ponte de Ume to Betanzos, and this was my favorite day literally ever. I love this so much. We started off with the most gorgeous sunset hike I've ever seen in my whole life, and it was just so beautiful. Ponte de Ume almost looks like Italian with all the boats and the coastal cities, so it's just a really wonderful place to start in. This hostel I can't find at all. I don't know where we stayed in. I won't have any pictures or names put up on this part because I looked through my email and I just cannot find it for the life of me. But there's multiple hostels in Betanzos, so if you are planning your trail based off of this video, you will definitely find somewhere. This day there's a lot of cool churches that we stopped in, I remember, and it was a really neat sort of historical day, going through these cities. And again, just my favorite day overall. It was challenging but still pretty chill, and it was about 21 kilometers in total that we backpacked that day. Okay, day three. Day three is batshit crazy, you guys. Day three, we were in a cafe on day two, in Betanzos, and we were looking at how long it was. And there's literally no restaurants, no hostels along the way. Like in other cities, there's like, maybe there's not much, but there's typically restaurants, cafes, maybe a hostel or two as you're hiking until you get to that main city where it has all of the essentials. So you know that you're like okay while you're hiking. This was the one exception to that rule. There was literally nothing. I think we stopped in maybe one cafe that was just happened to, we didn't know it was going to be there, just happened to be there throughout day three. And also the city that we were hiking to, which is Hospital de Bruma, only had 2 hostels, right? And one of them was completely booked, like you had to book it way in advance. And the other one was first come, first serve, and only had like 22 beds. This is the Albergue de Peregrinos in Hospital de Bruma. And so we were like, oh my God, we have to book it because this is the day where it's gonna get competitive. Every other day felt like maybe a little bit competitive sometimes, but overall, like, we were kind of all in this together. Day three was like cutthroat competition. So my friends and I, we woke up at 2:30 in the morning and started hiking at 3 a.m. I hope I have pictures up here to prove this of us literally backpacking in the pitch black night. It was insane. And we completely booked it. It was pouring at one point. We were like, we stopped to take a break and we were freezing. We had to just like power through. It was definitely the hardest day ever. We were dying, but we ended up being the first people to the hostel, and we were able to secure our beds. But that was so stressful. If you're backpacking the Camino Inglés specifically, day three might take you out. But just power through. You're gonna make it. If for whatever reason you don't make it to that hostel, that first come first serve hostel, you'll have to backpack an additional few kilometers to the next city, which isn't too bad, but it does suck after you've already backpacked over 20 kilometers that day, especially if you've had to get through rain, and especially if you've been booking it all day to try to be one of the first come first serve recipients in that hostel. So that was definitely just hard. We didn't really stop anywhere besides the one cafe. Again, like, there was just nothing really on that hike, and it was really hard. But it was very nice at the end. It was very rewarding to actually get to the hostel. I think I slept for like 12 hours that night. I like passed out as soon as we got there. There is one restaurant in town right by those 2 hostels, and that was like a saver. We ate, we got like coffee as soon as we got there to like warm us up. We had dinner there that night. We had breakfast there that morning. They're like a bar and restaurant, so you can get beer, you can get coffee, you can get food, you can get we had like a 3-course meal that night. It was for like $11. It was delicious. So really glad that we were able to secure a place there and not have to backpack the extra few kilometers, because that just would have really sucked that day. But yeah, day 3, so challenging, so rewarding. Looking back on it, I'm like, yeah, I would do it again. But in the moment, I was like, I'm literally going to die today. I had to call my mom at like 8 in the morning after we had been backpacking for 5 hours in like the pitch black darkness, which is 2 a.m. my mom's time, for her to like give me motivation to get through this damn hike. But we made it, and we were able to go into day 4 with a lot more of a positive attitude than day 3, which is really nice. So okay, like I said, day 4, we were able to go in with a much more positive attitude. Day 4 was a lot of like fields and more agricultural landscapes. Definitely a lot more places to stop into, a lot more like bakeries, which is really nice. That again was a much more chill day. We went from Hospital de Bruma to Siguero. That was like a 25-kilometer hike, if I remember correctly. It was pretty long, but it was a much better landscape, and it also we weren't having to book it to a hostel. We stayed at the Albergue de Otrea et Susea, I believe is how you pronounce it. Again, I'll have the pictures and names up here. So that was more of a bare essential kind of hostel, like just your bed, your bathroom. But that's all, again, all you really need. Like your backpacking was maybe 2 to 3 outfits. It's all good. One thing I did not bring is shampoo or conditioner, and I, like, day one, I was like, ooh, this might have been a mistake, but most of the hostels actually do have shampoo and conditioner, or shampoo and soap. Maybe not conditioner, but definitely shampoo and soap. So if you want to save weight and not bring soap, like, totally do it. That's totally valid. And most of the hostels will have that. Even the ones that are like this one, where it's like very much bare essential, we were still good. We went to a really good pizza shop in Siguero. I'll try to find the name of it and post it here. But if I don't, just look up pizza in Siguero and you'll probably find it. It was so delicious. It was amazing. We were also there during Easter week, so I was really hoping that we would catch some of the processions, but we ended up not really catching anything, but we kept seeing things on the TVs, like documenting things happening in Valencia, and some of the more big Easter cities throughout the country. But super, super cool history and culture that happens there during that week. All right, guys, and then the last day, day 5, getting from Siguero to Santiago. This day my knees were killing me, so I actually ended up leaving earlier than the rest of my group. I wanted to kind of get to the cathedral by myself anyways, just because I was anticipating on doing this trip solo, so I did kind of want to have at least one section that I just kind of did by myself, in my own head, with my own thoughts, if you will, battling my own demons. But also I knew I was going to be a lot slower that day, so I did just want to go by myself, and that way I could keep my own pace and then just meet up with everyone in Santiago. Getting to the cathedral was literally incredible. This was a much shorter day, by the way. This was only like a 16-kilometer day, which was nice. It was a lot of uphill, which sounds bad, but by that point your knees want to die, and so uphill actually feels better because you're not putting as much pressure as when you go downhill. So I was so thankful for the uphills that day. Getting to Santiago was amazing. There's so much Celtic culture along the way, and I was greeted by like bagpipes walking in there and all these pilgrims coming from all over, because everyone meets at the cathedral. So you have people from all over the world, coming from France, coming from Portugal, and then you go and you get your certificate. So getting the certificate, it's a little bit hard to find. I had to ask around. You have to you come into the cathedral and you kind of have to pass it and then like take a right, and then you're gonna end up at this international pilgrims center thing, and you're gonna get like a ticket like you're at the DMV, and then you'll register your credential throughout the week at some point, and that way they know when you're supposed to arrive. So then on that day they should already have your name and like your credential number, your pilgrim number, like already in the system, and then you'll just show them your stamps that you backpacked over 100 kilometers, and then they print you out 2 certificates. So this is what they look like. It was really cool, really slay. It was very nice to end the day with my certificates. I did my first pictures at the cathedral in my hiking clothes, like with my backpack, and then I came back the next day on Easter morning in like a cuter outfit and like a skirt to also do pictures there. So again, another good part about bringing a cute outfit might just be to get better pictures at the end location. And then I also ended up putting on pajamas and meeting up my group at the very, very end. So I also have pictures in my pajamas, which I think is funny, at the cathedral. Let's see. I ended up staying at Bosch Hostel. It's very bougie, but it was very nice. And I do recommend it. I did spend a little bit more on that hostel than I did the other ones. I spent over 20 euros on that one, maybe closer to 25, which is just generally more expensive. A lot of the hostels I only paid 10 or 15 euros to stay in, which was really nice. So generally very cheap, but when you get to Santiago, because there's so many pilgrims and so many visitors and it's just a bigger city, they can upcharge. I went to a really awesome sandwich shop while I was there, and I got a Galician sandwich, so I will try to find that shop again and post it here so you can go eat awesome Galician sandwiches. And then I also went to Ethan Clay tattoo shop to get the Camino logo tattooed. I was just a walk-in. They have like deals for pilgrims. This was only 40 euros, so really awesome, especially considering my other ones were probably closer to 200 euros. I was gonna go out in Santiago. I wish I had like bars to recommend, but I was so exhausted and like passed out and slept. The guy who I stayed in the hostel with, who I shared a room with, like was out till like 4 in the morning, and he had done a much longer trail than I had, so more power to him. He was also like so much older than I was, so I wish I had that energy that night because I really wanted to go out, but I was again so exhausted. The next day, again, took pictures. I went to the first part of Easter Mass and got to see the inside of the cathedral. So definitely recommend that. I'm not a religious person, but whether you're religious or not, the imagery in that cathedral is like absolutely stunning and gorgeous. And then I was able to meet up with some girls, and one of them was actually from South Carolina. So that was really cool that morning. Then I got to meet a fellow South Carolinian. Then I left probably around noon to go catch my bus back to Madrid. So overall, my experience on the Camino Inglés was so incredibly moving and positive. I wouldn't have gotten it tattooed on me otherwise. I was able to meet such amazing people, like I said, and I had a really good time hiking with them and also by myself, and kind of creating a nice balance of personal development and motivation for my life. And I had a really incredible time. You can do this with a group. I will say you can pay to do it with a group. I don't think it's worth paying the amount that you pay to have a guide for it, because this is so easy to do on your own. The trail is so well marked. Again, you have apps like the Camino Ninja, which guide you through the way. You can talk to locals. Obviously, you have to have some Spanish skills there. But I think that there's enough support and enough people hiking the trail to where if you need to find a group, you can find a group without having to pay 800 euros to do so. But again, incredible experience. Loved it. Congratulations to everyone who completed the Camino this year, 2024, and in other years. And I hope to see you on the trail soon.